We are live once again from Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Julia Vedekint, the Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. She called it the Beach Street Sailing Club a minute ago. What kind of Crotonicism was that?
I was reading about a sailing club at the time, and I translated it.
Did you do your warm-ups?
Yes.
I'm not kidding when I say, Julie, we got to do our warm-ups, got to get our blood moving, you know, a couple of old farts here trying to go live on no one does live shows because it's too hard.
It's a whole lot easier than not.
No, it is. It's great fun, and we're delighted to have you all with us. Commodore, look at all the people checking in, Julia. We got Blake Middleton from up in Minnesota, where Wayzata Bay is now open on Lake Minnetonka. Peter Taylor checking in from New York City. Really almost, I was in hair and makeup, and then, of course, I go to costuming.
Right.
Get dressed.
I know.
In just the last 20 minutes before we go to air.
All right.
And I was going to put on my bimbo shirt that Larry Kennedy sent us from Oak Cliff. And it didn't go well with the pink shirt. So my valet said,
I know.
Don't exactly have a valet. Peter Taylor, that's all for you. Say hi to Larry Kennedy if he's not on. Alistair Murray, G'day, where it is 0701 down under in Melbourne, Sydney, and so on. Show 820 already, Mark Holland. Yes, indeed, it is. Greetings to you, Mark, from up near Boston. Vice Commodore Claire Harrington.
From beautiful backcountry Greenwich.
Backcountry Greenwich. Greenwich, Connecticut, one of the wealthiest zip codes in towns in the country.
Indeed.
Nice spot. Beautiful spot. A couple of great yacht clubs there. Riverside Yacht Club. Oh, man. Some old memories from there. Maura Stevens. Hello to you, Maura, up in Canada. And Christopher Gillingham is on over in Livingston with Jane. Nice to see them on Island Long. Kinda. Sounds like he's from the Midwest, like I am. Kinda damp here in Love. Oh, he's in Texas, today, not in Cleveland. He moves around.
He does.
Gordon Smith, we're going to feature him again today. And thank you very much, Gordon, for coming on with Clark on Tuesday's show. Jared DeYoung, I haven't seen him for a couple shows. Hi from SoCal, Ed Worley, Chris Exley, Rick Bannerow. Hi-ho from Connecticut. Tomorrow it's going to be 78 Fahrenheit.
No kidding.
30-something, almost. Not quite 30, but the jonquils, how do you say that?
Jonquils, yeah.
Jonquils will be very confused on Sunday with a high of 45. Yes, it's that time of year, and it's even very wet in Sydney, so says Pedro Foiling Sailor. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'm your host, Tom Eam. We got a great show today, and we're looking forward to having you all with us as we get to the starting line. Happy Friday, and happy, what kind of madness are we celebrating today, Julie? The FOSI, some of the U.S. FOSI anyway will probably know. And this is a FOSI Friday FU, and that's not an FU, Julia. It's
a follow-up.
Exactly. Well said. Follow-up. We got notes from Alistair Murray, a new gentleman. I don't know. I think he's from the UK. Tim Gulland, Jody Shields, Julie Ahrens, Peter Stevenson, Richard Gladwell, all have sent us notes since the last show. Coaching Corner, of course, a report on the benefits of a National Sailing Center. John Emmett standing under the Olympic rings there in Weymouth for his report today. Will feature the 2025 Hansa, or Hansa, you might say, class in para sailing worlds going on as we speak at the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club.
Yay.
Fully 16 nations. They got 75 entries in one class.
That's great.
And a couple interesting last legs for you. Is this, we got a video that I swear to God, Julia, is the most cringeworthy video yet from the U.S. team, Sail GP team.
Full of hype?
No, it's not even hyping. It's just cringeworthy. I'll show it to you. And I'm going to revisit the recommendation at the request of several of our viewers, revisit and I got a lot of compliments on it when I gave them my best thoughts on Tuesday. I'm sure they took it right to heart, right? Jody Shields checking G'day from Wet Wanji. Clark Chapin, March, he knew what it was. March Madness is what we're celebrating. Both Michigan and Michigan State are still in the tournament. Susan Watson Kenny, not Kennedy, but Susan puts out the press releases as our superb communications manager for the Gov Cup, and she got the release out And I'm going to feature it. Actually, I thought I'd get it in today's show, but it'll be in Tuesday's show because the requests for invitation, if you want an invitation as a under 23 sailor to Gov Cup, now's the time to go to the Gov Cup website, get the paperwork, and do that because Andy Rose, Christine Gribb, and the rest of the selection committee are hard at work. They've already selected, 5, 6 of the sailors.
Oh, you better hurry.
So it's the remaining group. And go to the Gov Cup website, and I'll run Christine's press release on Tuesday, and we'll talk some more about Gov Cup. Not only the Gov Cup this year, which is the last week of July, as usual,
Yes,
at Balboa Yacht Club. And it's starting on Tuesday, not on Monday, starting a day later because of some conflicts that U.S. Sail or World Sailing presented to both us and to down at Balboa. And also it had a downstream effect to several other events, including Oak Cliff and a couple others. I don't know why World Sailing. They've known full well when Gov Cup was. But anyway, I won't rant about that, at least not now. But suffice to say,
yes.
Balboa Yacht Club is hosting both the Gov Cup this year, last week of July, and the last weekend in June, the Rose Cup, which is the U.S. Youth National Match Racing Championship, and named after our good friend and super fozy Andy Rose. And we're going to be, Gov Cup TV is going to do that live too. So I'll be down there for 2 different shows.
Should.
It'll be good fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Julia, your camera is frozen. That's not a good look. Huh?
There's a message in there.
There's a message in there. We got to fix Julia's camera. See, she's frozen solid there. So let's see if we can fix her camera. That is not a good look, Julia. Yeah, it's you have a stern a stern look on your face. Huh?
Yes.
You have a stern look on your face.
Well, I have lots of problems.
Okay, well maybe we'll fix that during a video, but you can play to camera 2 until I get your camera fixed. Okay. That is croutonic. So that's what we're going to do, plus the last leg, but also Day in History, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, as always, the fantastic Fozy chat and more. And speaking of the Fozy chat, a lot of people on here. In addition to those we've already named, Blake Middleton says, now that I'm actually qualified for parasailing thanks to the progression of his MS, I'm all in for possible future parasailing opportunities. Well, this is such a heart-warming, heart-rending. It's just a fantastic story that we're covering and looking forward to it. I see Pindar is on, Julia. Andrew is saying, just back from Geneva and the fabulous launch event last night of the Swiss sailor Joshua Schopfer for his mini Transat campaign. A packed house of over 80 guests listened and questioned from positions of knowledge and support.
Oh, good.
Great stuff. There is Larry Kennedy. Hola from FI, from the FIDI, the Financial District in New York City. And thanks again for that shirt that you sent us, Larry, those shirts. Yeah, WD-40 isn't going to fix Julia's camera, Clark, I don't think.
I'm still going to squeak.
She is praying for the USA Sail GP team. Maybe that's why she's frozen, Julia. Are you praying? You do look like you're praying in that frozen shot.
Yes.
Larry Kennedy, who's helped host out there at Oak Cliff, the Rose Cup, he says that's one of his favorite events. And Clay Embley says that Julia looks like one of the nuns that would beat me in school.
Don't malign your poor mud.
You're live on camera too, so we'll fix your camera there. I don't know what went wrong with it, but we've had some.
That's all right.
What else here? Peter Taylor replied, she needs to get down on her knees for that.
That's true.
Huh?
That's what the problem
Look
is.
at that, Julia. The Flying Nun. Finn North American Masters next weekend, J. Frederick Bland is saying. And Banro thinks that it's more like you're praying. You're praying for Jody Stingray and Ted Ryman's souls.
Oh, well, I wouldn't ruin their life.
Let's push on here. Julia got down here and told me about this earthquake. I had no idea. I get my head down and my you-know-what up trying to prepare these shows on the afternoon before and especially the morning of. But terrible earthquake, 7.7. I hope we don't have one here anytime soon, but they keep saying we're due for the big one here or in SoCal, but they had a big one in Myanmar, I guess today, much earlier today. And that is, of course, Burma, what some still think of as Burma, but it was felt in Thailand.
Yes.
7.7 earthquake in Myanmar. And since this is a sailing show, a water show, we have a water video of what happened in Bangkok. It affected Thailand, Bangkok.
Yes.
The hotels shook, the buildings shook, and the water came streaming out of the pools at the hotels. Must have been pretty frightening.
Yes.
As Andrew McIrvin checks in from London, Pedro Foiling Sailor Julia says you can't beat a good nun's beating.
I missed that.
Look at this.
Missed it.
Oh, man, oh, man. Sad state of affairs.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay, enough of that. I hope everybody who are sailors, Fozier, I hope they've had apparently quite a loss of life already, haven't they?
Yes.
According to the various reports. Okay, enough of that. I just want to thank our Zoomers from, that wasn't last Friday's show, it was last graphics department. That was from Tuesday's show. Thanks to Zoomers Gordon Smith and Clark Chapin who checked in, and that was an interesting show to talk about what was going on in Sail GP and analyzing that. And we had a good, any number of letters, comments. I mean, we must have had a couple dozen afterwards, and we do go back and read them. So that's a little bit of a follow-up there as Julie Ahrens checks in from rainy and ugly Cleveland. It's ugly weather.
Oh.
Okay, well, you didn't see that video that I just played? Did I not have it on the air?
Maybe she's just talking about.
No, I see what I did. I'll show that video again. Shall I show that video again? Let's get it there. There, you get it.
Cool.
There, okay. I had Julia's. There's the video.
Yeah.
Look at that. That must have been a big surprise, and that's a long way away.
Yeah.
I hope you're all seeing that video now. That's from Bangkok, not from you say Myanmar? Myanmar? I hope nobody was in that pool, indeed. In any event, we're due for the big one here. It could happen tonight, today. It could happen 30 years from now. It could happen 300 years from now. So who knows what's going to happen and when. But sooner or later, those plates that are moving past each other, the North American plate and is it the Pacific plate? Are those the two?
Yeah.
And they keep trying to move, and then they move, and then there's going to be a big slippage.
Well, except they do move, which is nice. Meaning they move in tiny bits.
Yes.
Which is good.
Well, sometimes. We'll see. We hope it's not going to happen.
Relieve the pressure.
During the show. Thanks again to not Friday's guest, Tuesday's guest, to Clark and on the right there and Gordon Smith on the left. It was great to have them on as Zoomers. Rick Banner was on briefly, but we had a bit of a technical problem with his audio feed, and so he wisely took himself off so that we could carry on with Gordon and Clark. Much appreciated. Remember the race that we talked about here the other day? I guess last week, the Melbourne-Osaka Cup, the double-handed race. Alistair and others in Oz have been filling us in. And I didn't quite realize the extent to which the fast boats and slower boats had been staggered, but that race started on March 2nd. It's a 5,500 nautical mile double-handed race, Melbourne to Osaka, and that's the progress already. The boats that started earlier, some of which, I think Zero is one of the boats leading, and we'll tell you the other's name in a moment.
Escapade.
Well, yeah, Escapade, but there's another one that's buried under Zero there. It's called something Roo, and it's up there. They're next just to the east of Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
But I didn't know this. There's a boat starting. There's a close-up of what's going on. You see Alive down there in the bottom doing 0.0 knots?
Yep.
That's a boat that's about to start sometime this weekend.
Oh, my.
And Alistair sent this. Of course, it's a couple of guys from Ronstadt. Let's go sailing, fellas. Duncan Hine, and what a great name, and co-skipper Glenn Myler from Alive are ready to chase down the fleet in their powerful Reichel Pew 66, expected to depart on Sunday, with the first of the fleet, Curious Rue, that's the name of the boat, setting sail on March 2nd, a 4-week head start. A 4-week head start. And the rest of the main fleet on 17 March, they started. The race is on. Do you think these guys can catch up in their big Reichel Pew 66? So we'll stay tuned for updates as they push the limits and go full throttle in the next few days. As Hamish Ross is checking in, and Fritz Mueller checking in from Miami. Hello to you both. So that is the Ronstadt guys. I just read that.
Duncan Hine. Wouldn't you like to be Duncan Hine?
Well, with an S anyway.
Yeah.
Duncan, wasn't that the name of the Duncan Hines?
Yes.
Was that it?
Mhm.
Duncan Hines. Okay. Well, and that's a baking company, right? They make pre-baked mixes and things.
I guess so.
Huh?
Yeah.
Here in the U.S., maybe worldwide. I don't know. So these guys are at it. Thank you, Alistair Murray, for sending that along. We'll follow them. Then the Sail GP, of course, there's still some vibrations, some echoes from that massive crash, that collapse of the wing of Tommy.
Any news about that?
Well, not really. I've got a lot of reaction from various viewers.
Yeah.
Here's the video we showed you the other day that I think nailed it. When people thought there were collisions, I'm not going to go through the slide by slide, but we showed you that actually that was that 90-degree turn, bow down, whether the bow down was caused by the collapse of the wing or both, or vice versa, or both. Then we got this mast top, and we had a discussion about whether that video was taken from the masthead of that boat. I can't remember whose boat that was. But first of all, I got this note from a gentleman I don't know. Some of you Brits may know him, a guy called Tim Gulland, who I believe lives up near Birmingham in the UK. At least I couldn't find him as a Facebook friend, but he said, "Hi there, thanks for adding the additional videos of the Aussie mast fail. Initially," and he's an engineer. I checked him briefly this morning, and he knows carbon fiber, carbon composites. And he said, "Initially, I thought contact with the Italian boat forced the starboard bow down on the Aussie boat in an overtension of the forward starboard mast stay. But having seen your videos, I agree that there was no contact and that the failure started before the Aussie bow overlapped the Italian's stern." And then I'm not going to read all this. You can take a screen grab of it or go back and watch it in replay. But he goes on at great length about what he thinks happened, including how non-destructive testing at Clark, apropos your comments, would help, but it wouldn't necessarily solve all the problems of trying to check this stuff between events. And he goes on and on. He must have done some windsurfing. He knows about carbon windsurfs masts and Nomex core going unnoticed. That is the D-bond between the skins and the core. So it was a very interesting note from a Tim Gulland. If any of you know him, maybe he's watching. Love for him to friend me. I've got a few friend spaces on my personal Facebook page, and it'd be nice to know you, Tim, as a Facebook friend. So as J. Frederick Bland is saying, the Aussie mast went out of column, and that's all she wrote. And we'll see. But thanks, Tim, for those thoughts. Baton Rouge, a.k.a. Baton Canada, Kennan said, "I read someone's comment, and they mentioned that these boats, when they capsize and don't break the wing, the wings get fatigued for future failure." Interesting point. Probably do. Mm-hmm. Probably do. Jobs to do. Watch and replay, John Collins is saying. Now, here is a submission from Jody. And he's saying this is apparently the mast he was talking about. At the top of all these masts, they have an Insta360, which are the same cameras we use here in the studio, except a little bit different version of them.
Yeah.
And I guess this is from the top of that. Well, I don't understand how there must be some rig somewhere that projects it. But that was from Jody.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't know if that video that we watched where they did the 90-degree turn and it kind of broke the code for us on what happened, it really came from a masthead or whether it was a helicopter. I still think it looked like a helicopter. But Jody does, and he's right, because I went and looked. They do all have these Insta360 cameras up top, and they're recording. They're not necessarily sending them into the television feed, so that's interesting. I don't think it was Tim Cullinan from Cleveland. It was the guy was Gullinan, and he was, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but it was
from Connecticut or something.
From Cleveland. No, he was from Stafford, I think was the name of the town, I believe. But I hope he'll put a comment in if he's on watching. Stingray saying that Steve Clark, Van Allen Clark's son, Steve, a longtime, very fine sailor up in the Northeast and a multi-hull sailor and A-class catamaran guru and so on, has posted some great analysis on Sailing Anarchy in the Sail GP thread. Stingray, tell us what he said, if you would, please. Yeah, and Gordon is saying we should see those masthead videos more often. I don't think they're feeding them from the rigs to the television trucks, the studio, but I think they're recording and then using them.
Well,
afterwards.
It does make sense now that I know that, and looking at that.
Exactly.
Picture. Yeah.
It was good to know. So thanks, Jody, for that. Seemed like they need to make a more robust mast or change the rig design. Well, we had that. I don't want to rehash that discussion. We had quite a discussion on Tuesday's show, but you know, the T-foils are putting, no doubt, all of you who are engineers are convinced the T-foils themselves are putting more load on the rigs. Remember, these are the short rigs, not the tall rigs, not the new ones. These are the old rigs. And I don't know how old these rigs are, but the rigs in the boats are, something like 5 years old or approaching that.
Yep.
And the T-foils, the new T-foils are putting on more load. And you saw that 90-degree turn. And who knows if Thomas capsized or not. I don't know. I don't know whose rig that was because they've done some swapping around the rigs. It's until we see the full analysis from Sail GP. We shall.
Yeah, it is complicated, though. I'm sure it's not an easy call.
Indeed. And Alistair Murray thinks that looks like the Brazilian boat, the Brazilian mast colors. Well, remember, Alistair, see, they've all got that. The Brazilian boat's next door. So that's not, the Brazilian boat is that in the background there. Yeah. That's the Brazilian boat, Alistair. I don't know who this is. That's the French boat. So this is just, by the way, this is an example from Jody. This could even be Tommy's boat. This could be Slingsby. In fact, I think it is. It's the Australian boat on another day from memory. I think that's what the video was. But thanks again to Jody for sending that. Speaking of Sail GP and the American team, I've been asked to reprise this and had a lot of complimentary comments for my analysis of what they need to do, which was not, don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. What they need to do is get Buckley off the boat. My advice is to take Mike Buckley off the boat. He's been the strategist for Taylor along the line. He needs to go off the boat, run the team, deal with the sponsors, produce these social media things, and then move Anna Weiss, as you would say in American, move her over as the strategist, okay? Right now, she's the grinder and jib trimmer. Move her over as strategist. Mm-hmm. And then, with Buckley off the boat, you need 6 crew, so you've got both, you put Peter and Mac both on as grinders. Don't change Hans. Don't change Jeremy. Keep them doing what they're doing. They're learning their jobs and have some stability on the boat and remove some of the angst from within the crew.
Yeah.
And see how they do in Brazil and going forward. At least that's, Julia, that's my opinion. And if you saw Magnus's piece today, Magnus the Magnificent.
I saw the headline, but I couldn't get
he is right. He's saying this is, you got to put on your big boy and girl pants now because this is professional sport.
Right.
And just like, the Formula One driver got cashiered the other day from, what was it, the Ferrari team for lack of performance. This is, things are going to happen. And Mike needs to take himself off the boat, in my opinion. And read Magnus's column about leadership and team ownership because it's important, and he's correct, as usual.
Yes.
Not always, but as usual. Magnus the Magnificent, his Rule 69 blog post today on Substack. So that's what I think should go on. You do that, and it's, again, pretty simple. Get Mike off the boat, move Anna Weiss over here make her the strategist. I put that in under her name. Keep these two guys on as grinders. Keep these two guys, Hansa and Jeremy, doing what they're doing with flight control and wing trimmer. And arguably, flight controller is the most important role. Let them settle in and see how they do in Rio the first weekend in May. Okay, enough of that. Now, here was an interesting picture. And I don't know if this was L.A. or here. Do you know, I'm sure you know Dylan on the left, and you know Sir Ben, and you know Russell. Well, that's Michael Johnson, the fabulously good athletics, or we would say track and field star, retired now from this country. And he is a 4-time Olympic gold medalist and an 8-time world champ. Thank you, Gordon Smith, for sending along that info.
Yes.
And between those guys, Dylan's got, 2 golds? Sir Ben's got 4 golds plus the silver. Michael's got 4 golds, and Russell's got his gold from 84 in the Finn class. There is a lineup that you don't often see at a sailing event.
That's nice. It's nice.
Isn't that nice?
Golden, as they say.
Golden, as they say. Well done, Julia. That is Dylan, Sir Ben, Michael Johnson, Sir Russell, and 4-time Olympic gold and 8-time world champ Michael Johnson. And another Fozy FU, not a follow-up. This photo, I'm not sure I've used this, but that is Julie Ahrens. You now put a name with a face. We talk about her a lot on here.
Nice.
She is a regular and reliable and true Fozy, watching from Cleveland usually, as I believe she is today. She, of course, was in Barcelona. She's a big fan of ETNZ, has known Grant Dalton and others, connected with that team for years. And she sent me a comment saying, after the discussion we had the other day, according to you're saying, in effect, you're right. According to the deed of gift, there is no way that the challengers can run the cup event. That job rests with the defender. All the talk and commentary is a waste of time. This isn't even an issue that is worthy of discussion. Well, you say that, but it is worthy of discussion, Julie, because everybody wants to talk about it. And if it goes to court, well, she says the challengers would lose the case. The deed of gift is very clear. And as you know, Julia Vatican, I totally agree with her. It is not going to get run by some consortium. The deed of gift doesn't permit it. Hamish Ross, who's on here, will back us up. Anybody who's a student of the deed, let alone a lawyer like Hamish is. And a couple of us have been in those legal movies. I twice.
You wrote the script.
Well, I didn't write the script, but I certainly was in the movie. So thank you, Julie, for that. Unless the defender doesn't feel the boat. Yeah, but Mark Holland, excuse me, Mark, if the defender doesn't feel the boat, then they don't have a defense. Then the defending club has to give the cup away to another yacht club in their country. Then if that doesn't happen, then it would go back to the previous trustee. And Hamish is going to come on the show in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about Hamish Ross is coming on the show in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from maybe today.
Oh,
and we're going to talk about all this stuff.
Oh, good.
James Pleasance is on, by the way, next Friday.
Oh, good.
The billionaire was told, no, read the deed. That being Ernesto Bertar-Relli, Ed Worley is saying. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thanks, Julie Ahrens, for that. Now look at this gorgeous picture from another Fozy, again, in the spirit of Fozy follow-up. The view this morning on my walk, I'll be listening. This from Tuesday. In the background with interest. It's another good day. Hopefully we all woke up this morning. You know who sent that, Julia?
Sounds like Jody, is it?
No. Pedro Foiling Sailor. See?
I read it.
See, it says Pedro at the end. Peter, a.k.a. Peter Stevenson. What a beautiful city that is. And he's, he had his heart attack in, tell me where, it was in Mexico at a laser Masters World Championship, and they said he died, and they shocked him back to life, and he's lived to talk about it, and he's really fit.
And he's no longer Peter Stevenson.
He's Pedro Foiling Sailor.
He's Pedro, because he was reborn
exactly
in Mexico.
Exactly.
I love that story.
Pedro Foiling Sailor, and thank you for that, Peter. And then finally, we've got a happy birthday to this gentleman. You know who that is? Pictures from a few years ago. It's his Facebook profile picture. I think it's from 2011. That's Richard Gladwell.
Oh, it doesn't look like Richard Gladwell.
Well, it does. It's just a little bit younger photo, but it's the esteemed editor, New Zealand editor of Sail World. And he is holding, I guess, I just plucked that off his Facebook page this morning. That is a television camera that must be
50 years old.
Well, at least 50. It's something like that. So belated happy birthday. His birthday, he's my age or a couple of years, give or take. And his birthday was a couple of days ago. Richard Gladwell down in NZL. So happy birthday to you, sir. Julia?
Sir.
What are we celebrating today? There's your clue.
Where are we?
There's your clue right behind the lower third. Look on your monitor. Do you not have it on your monitor?
Sailing Illustrated. Oh, March Madness.
Yes.
Yes.
March Madness. Get your game face on for March Madness. This high-energy tournament is a slam dunk of excitement, passion, and heart-pumping action. So grab your team colors, gear up for the showdown, and let the madness begin. Now, this thing's been going on already for a week or so. Rick Bannerow's got it. March Madness. And those of you outside the U.S., you've probably heard of it, or maybe you have, but this is one of the best things that goes on in this country. It's been going on for years and years, decades. And it involves 60, what is it up to now, Julia? 68 colleges? 68 colleges around the country. And they have one
They
game.
have to qualify to get in.
Well, they have to qualify by doing well in the season, their regular seasons, playing, and their league tournaments and so on. But they finally get down to 68 teams, and they have some preliminaries, and then they start going through these brackets.
Right.
That gets down to Final Four and then Final Two in a couple weeks. So we're down to Sweet 16 now.
Wow.
Then the Elite Eight after tonight and tomorrow. Then it's the Elite Eight. Then it's the Final Four. But it's one game and you're out if you lose. One game and you continue. Tonight, one of my favorite teams is playing in Atlanta against Auburn University. And Auburn's the number one ranked in that group that Michigan is playing in.
Right. That
Sweet 16 begins tonight. Michigan versus Auburn. And Auburn's about a 9-point favorite, Julia.
Oh, well.
6:30 our time, 9:30 Eastern time. And as Clark Chapin said earlier, both Michigan and Michigan State are in the tournament, and a lot of other colleges around the country. And it gets the whole country involved.
Yes.
You get everybody trying to do a bracket and saying, predicting who will win right down to the final two and even the final game. And it's great fun. It's one of the great sports tournaments in the modern history of the world. We're also celebrating all of you. I left the fight song in.
Yes.
Huh?
Michigan, we might as well.
Huh?
Might as well cheer.
One of the great fight songs.
Yes.
Besides,
it is.
I don't have to listen to John Sangmeister's USC fight song. Michigan. Fight song there is celebrating all of you who are patrons and more. We appreciate very much those of you who contribute to us via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, or sending us a check, or sending us a bottle of something like Clay Embley has done, or shirts, or tell me what, Julia.
Oh, yeah. We gather.
We gather no moss here. Already 100 messages. It's unbelievable, the great comments. I thought March Madness was a kite-flying event, Alan Long said. Bannerow's back on the T-foils. A comment on the last show is that T-foils create ability to carve. Yes, carve sharper turns, unlike the slide. The more flexible carbon fiber foils and the L foils can carve. That's a good point. We talked about that on the show. J. Frederick Bland back now on the basketball tournament. The Eyes of Texas are on the sidelines. Hired the coach and beat him. Clark says his dream each year is an all Big Ten Final Four, Michigan versus Michigan State for the title, but it won't have. Aren't they both in the same bracket? Yeah, they are in the same region. So they might play each other for the Final Four berth in the Elite Eight. That's possible. Hamish Ross says March Madness phrase comes from an earlier phrase, Mad as a March hare. Does it?
Mm, wow.
Is that Shakespearean, Hamish?
Yeah.
I don't know. Blake Middleton, thank you. We are honored to have you as a supporter via Patreon every month, and we
Yes,
appreciate everybody who does, Julia.
Always has been. I think he may have been one of the first.
He was. Since right since the get-go. Clay Embley says, March Madness, it's what my wife gets when the bill comes back from the sail maker. Don Lunabos across the bridge up in Sonoma. Thanks again to all of you. Just the people who come on here and comment. Those of you who are loyal watchers, we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
And
indeed.
You're all family by now.
Well, they are family, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I like it when we get these comments. I didn't put it in the show, but Magnus I hope Magnus is recovering from his COVID bout. But he put a very nice thing in his blog post yesterday about the community, the Sailing Illustrated community that has come together, and how people are talking offline and back and forth and helping each other. And he's right. The feature of our show today, which is, of course, this, we need to get this parasailing back in the 2032 the Paralympics, even as a demonstration event, and with the Para Worlds and the Hansa Worlds going on, Hansa class being jointly hosted by one of your favorite yacht clubs in the world.
Yes, the Royal Prince Alfred.
The Royal Prince Alfred. And Magnus made the great comment that, this is a big push, and it's the Sailing Illustrated push, and he's making it, and John Emmett and others are making it. Andrew Pindar is making it. So it's good stuff. And it's thanks to this wonderful community that we have on here, all of you.
Yes.
And speaking of John Emmett, we have his regular coaching report, the Coach's Corner with John Emmett, and he's standing in front of the Olympic rings today at the Weymouth, at their National Sailing Center.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Welcome to John Emmett's Coaching Corner. And if you haven't done so already, please remember to share the feed. Really important to get those live comments coming in. Now, as you can see from my background, I'm at the Weymouth and Portland National Sailing Academy, and this really is a legacy centre. So when we're talking about having productive training, it's really important to try and have a good venue. And of course, this is a good venue because it's the host venue for the 2012 Olympics. It was chosen because of the good wind and good facilities, and that's mainly to do with the topography of where it's located. And I think it's important for me to clear up, this is a legacy centre. It's completely self-funded. There's no government money, there's no lottery money, there's no local council money. It stands on its own 2 feet. And this is where I do a lot of my bread and butter coaching, like the bulk of the freelance coaching, whether that's with club sailors or whether it's with the elite sailors who are trying to get to Olympics. And that's very different from the club circuit. My club, you can't actually see it, but Castle Cove is just over there, the other side of the bay. And that's what I would say is a family-friendly club and a good balance. So the club environment and the training centre environment are very different things. But as I said, the academy, it's been here. I think the first stone was planted over 20 years ago by Simon Hiscox, and it was the first facility that was actually ready for the 2012 Olympic Games, and long may it go on. Thing for me, just having lots of space and lots of good people to train against makes it very easy. There's full-time staff here, so this does have a sort of paid side to it, and it means that anytime you come in, there's a cafe that you can use, and I make a point, well, I like lots of coffees, but I make a point of buying my food here because I really want to try and support the centre so it carries on for many, many years to go. And I think this is such a nice thing that after that 2012 legacy, the facilities carry on. But we need to look at the locations, because we see it a lot where we have sailing championships go to venues that are perhaps not the most suitable for sailing. Now, I don't know how easy it is to tell here, but this is a pretty windy day, and probably in Weymouth we lose more days through too much wind than not enough wind. Now, some people will argue that it's pretty cold. Certainly the last national ranking event I did, the National Open, which used to be called the qualifiers, it was pretty cold in that northeasterly, mainly due to the wind chill. But it's important to have these events at the beginning of the season to qualify people for the championships, which are in the summer, and that's why we have those sort of March events after the dinghy show, which I missed for the first time in a long time. But I've really enjoyed sailing here. I think this qualification is really important, that it doesn't matter who you are, you have to come up, do the events to get your place at the Worlds. And the Youth Nationals this year will be in April, but the Youth Worlds is in December at Villamora, so they're going to have a slightly later trials. They're actually going to use the Open Nationals, the Senior Nationals, later in the year, because you want to be selecting a little bit closer to the time, especially with youth sailors who are growing and improving all the time. So there's possibly a big difference to how somebody's performing in March and how they're performing in December. But yeah, I'm very lucky to have two homes here. Well, I say lucky, I chose to live here, and I will keep one Ilka at Castle Cove and I will keep one Ilka at WPNSA, just to facilitate the training and do things in the most efficient way rather than trailing boats back and forward, and just sit there with a cover on, tied to the concrete, and it's safe as houses. Although one of the things I did really like in Australia, it feels like the boats don't actually have covers, because a lot of them live indoors because they're very scared of the sun. So that was a really nice thing there. The academy here, we've actually got a hangar behind that you can wheel your boats in with a mast up to do that boat work, and that facility's been really good on those days when it's not possible to sail due to too much wind, that you can get your boat work done. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Comments always really welcome, because I can show you, really how the British sailing system works and why it's so successful, and this squad system and how we train and where we train. But in the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and keep having fun.
Keep having fun. I like that,
That's
Julia.
even
Huh?
better. Yeah.
Now let's see. We got your camera working. Yes, we got everything's working here.
Yay.
Good thing. And we've got John Emmett from John Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. Nice.
I'd like to thank Hamish Ross for reminding us that the march here features an Alice in Wonderland. But there are earlier literary references as far back as the 1500s. So it probably comes from an old folk saying.
Oh, Hamish. You've made Julia's day.
Yes, I love that.
Something as old as she is, back as 1500, right, Julia?
Right.
Huh?
Right.
Your camera's working again, Julia.
Oops.
How nice is that? Okay, John Emmett, I would say John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. We appreciate it. And again, John and Magnus the Magnificent and several of you, maybe a lot of you, are helping all of us, and Alistair Murray as well, the big push to get parasailing reinstated for Brisbane 2032 as a demonstration event. And let's keep on pushing for that, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments, Julia, that we want to cover before we move into today's feature? Gordon Smith talking about what a nice facility that is there at the Weymouth and Portsmouth National Sailing. I have to WPNSA.
Oh, good.
Penis. It sounds like a penis. Julia, huh?
Enough.
WPNSA. You've got to be careful how you say that, John Emmett.
Be careful.
I'm sorry, Julia. I apologize, sort of. Steve Gruber, how long has it been since John Emmett was walking during CC? It is definitely safer, but he should still not be outdoors without a helmet. Yeah, Gordon Smith is agreeing. Wonderful, John Emmett. It is a family show, Julia. As family in the double bed available is the double bed available in Studio B. I don't know. There's no bed in here?
Oh,
Julia?
not that I can see.
I can't either. Great, John. Thank you. Enjoy sometime hearing how your funding works there, Alan Long is saying. Paul Callahan, an honor to live among the SI community. Now, this guy, Paul Callahan, you know who he is, Julia. I'm not sure you ever met him. Stalwart New York Yacht Club member, lives down in Miami, runs, what is it called? Sailability. Help me out, Paul, in the chat. His two kids, the Callahan twins, are superb sailors. And they will be at Gov Cup again, I believe, this year. They both go to Harvard. They're both super bright.
Oh, we met them before. Yeah,
we've featured them on the show before.
Right.
Paul, after participating in Sydney 2000 and London 2012 in the Paralympics, he did. I am all ready for Brisbane 2032. Now, Gordon Smith's going back about the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland was named after the effect of the mercury vapor used in making hats.
I beg your pardon.
Is that right?
Mad? Oh, well,
The Mad Hatter.
that's how the Hatter got mad.
And is that how March Madness happened?
I don't think so.
Okay, Jody Shields, I had the honor of being in that location, meaning in Weymouth, when Nathan and Goobs were presented their gold medal. Okay, there's Clark Chapin. Yeah, it is a distraction. I won't read all that, but there's a nice link there. Sail to Prevail. Claire Harrington's reminding me of the name of Paul. There it is, Paul Callahan's outfit in Miami. And again, they're helping people who are challenged, who are disabled. And he is a peach, and his wife, too, and his kids are just peach of a human being. And nice folks. Long time friend, very cool guy. And if you have the chance to contribute to any of these organizations, including especially Sail to Prevail, do so, please. As Joe Cool is saying, yes. Okay, this is our feature today. That is your favorite yacht club in the world, Julia.
Royal Prince Alfred.
The Royal Prince Alfred. It's actually technically in Newport.
Pittwater.
Well, they call it Pittwater, but I think the town is actually Newport. But nonetheless, the Hansa 303 one-person fleet was the only one out on their Friday. It's Saturday down there now, on day 4 of the 2025 Hansa and Para World Sailing Championships at Pittwater, as you say, Julia.
Yep.
While the other classes enjoyed a lay day, although some chose to go out and practice in prep for Saturday's races. On the ground at Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club and running around at this event is Chris Mitchell. He is the RPAYC Commodore. Or no, as the Commodore Rob McClellan pointed out in his speech at the opening of the Worlds on Monday about Chris Mitchell, he's saying, of course, none of this would have been possible without one man's vision, Chris Mitchell. Chris is the founder, designer, and driving force behind the Hansa. I guess you'd just call it Hansa. I'd call it Hansa, but then I'd try to Latinize everything. The Hansa class. Mitchell, it transpires, has been all over New South Wales prior to the event. Quote, we collected around 70 boats from around New South Wales, mainly thanks to Sailability New South Wales, plus brought 25 of our own boats to the Alfreds, meaning the Royal Prince Alfred. We collected Liberties, another class of boat, and took them home and fixed and buffed them.
Wow.
He said, Chris Mitchell said. The quote continues, we went past Orange to get boats, past Port Macquarie, how do you say that, Moruya? Moruya, I don't know, Sydney, Gosford, and put them in the Crystal Bay car park at the Alfreds, at the Royal Prince Alfred. It took around 2 weeks to get them all here. We started on the 10th of March, and the last ones came in on 22 March, Mitchell
Good job.
And I mean, Julia, if that's not a Bravo Zulu,
Yes.
I don't know what is.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
The volunteers, they've got something approaching 100 volunteers for this regatta. Magnus has written about this as well. Good stuff. Bravo Zulu to the club. There is just, I mean, this is a massive undertaking. There are fully 75 entries in one division, and there's more divisions than I can, there's looking at the scoring makes my eyes spin because there's so many different divisions. But bottom line, the Worlds take in the Hansa World and International Championships, the Australian and New South Wales Hansa Class Championships, plus the Para World Championships. Yes, this is a world sailing event. 16 nations are competing at the championships hosted by the RPAYC, including Australia, Chile, France, Germany, Great Britain, Hong Kong, China, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, New Zealand, Poland, Portugal, Singapore, South Korea, Spain, and the US of A.
That's great.
There is a Polish gentleman who's in second place. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. He's second place in the Hansa 303 single-handed. And they don't say, I guess I should be quick to say this, Julia, they don't say single-handed. World Sailing now says one-person boat because they may have no hands. I mean, they may be, so it's a one-person boat. And when I saw that, I texted Magnus the other day, and I said, "World sailing." I thought they were using it about other things than about parasailing, and they're now calling the laser a one-person boat. And I said, "Okay, excuse me, the laser is a single-handed boat. The double-handed boat is a 420 or a 470 or a tell me what, and a triple-handed boat. Now, if you want to do what rowing does, and have the singles and the doubles and the triple, you know, the eights, when they have an 8-person scull and 8 men or women, fine. But a one-person boat, excuse me. I understand that relative to parasailing.
Yeah.
I get that. Okay, so much for my rant. But let's go back to what is a very cool event.
He's a handsome man.
Well, call him up. Huh? Peter Chichaki, I guess it's pronounced.
That's good, yeah.
Chichaki, I believe, is second behind Gautier Briel from France. 3 races were run yesterday on their Friday under gloomy skies with the sun teasing by poking its head out every now and again. So 6 races have been sailed in total, with 3 more scheduled for Sunday showdown. On a tight scoreboard, 6 internationals hold the cards, and it could go to any of them.
Wow.
However, it looks like Mr. Briel, Gautier Briel from France, is the one to beat. Briel has sailed the most consistently, counting 4 wins and a pair of second places in the 6 races, and despite taking the lead on the first day of the competition, he fired a warning salvo, quote, "I need to try harder. I'm here to do my best," unquote. In other words, second places are not good enough. And apropos that, Magnus also wrote about how terribly competent, how incredibly competent these sailors are in what they're doing. And they're not only keen and intense and all the things you would expect, but they're really good. And Magnus thinks if any of us were to go down there and try to sail one of these boats as an completely able-bodied person, we'd probably get our lunch handed to us, and we'd probably learn a thing or two. We'd be schooled, I think was the verbiage that Magnus used.
Yeah. It's a good word.
His leading margin is slim, though, as Piotr Chichaki from Poland is 1 point behind, as we mentioned. Jens Kroka from Germany has come into the picture today, Friday. His 10 points with a drop in play means he is just 4 points off the lead. And that there's fully, I think, 75 boats in that single one-person singles. Let's just call it the singles.
Yeah.
Singles, doubles, triples, and 8s like they do in rowing. What's wrong? Maybe we coin that as the new Sailing Illustrated terminology.
All right.
Pedro Foiling Sailor says that on Sunday it will be blowing the skin off a rice pudding. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's going to get breezy. So is what you're saying is that we should just drop handed from the boat to school? Well, that's what apparently World Sailors call it: 1-person, 2-person, 3-person, Clark. And I'm just saying, let's call it the single, the double, and the triple, and tell me what, the 6. The 6s for Sail GP. They have 6 people on the boat. This is an endearing, fabulous, cool video that gives you a feel for what is going on at the Alfreds.
I want a puff of, just a little drift of wind, because I've got less limbs, as I know you can see, which means less weight. So the heavier guys, they're just going to go around in circles.
It's a pretty good boat, and it's pretty fast, and I have not much weight on me. I love being on the water and, like sailing. I just love sailing. I feel pretty good about it, and yeah, it's a pretty good experience. How did I get into it? Well, someone just saying, like, why don't you just join us in the Worlds? And I said, sure. It's been pretty good ever since. It went pretty well. I came 9th, which is pretty good. A little bit of sunshine and a little bit of chop, and that's what you get when you're sailing.
Well, the 2.3s were originally the first boats Chris made. And I was here nearly 30 years ago on a tri-sailing day. And as soon as I hopped in the boat, my life changed forever. And Fortunately for me, this little one, I was able to purchase it, so it's my own private boat, and it's rigged up so I have special devices that I'm able to use to assist me, because I've got the limbs missing, to operate this boat as safe and fast as possible. I class Hansa sailing as a family. It doesn't matter what division, what boat, what ability, how many's in the boat. It's just an awesome environment, and there's no nasty communication with each other. We're all really open and caring and assisting. So we've got new Aaron that's, just started up, and, he started as school sport down in Nowra, and he said to me on day one, "Oh, these are really cool boats. Can I race them?" And I said, "Well, actually, the World Championships is coming beginning of next year, which is this year. I'll talk to your mum and your principal," and it all happened, and now he is here, and it's so wonderful to see him on the water. I think he's 13. He is doing so well, and he's actually beating other competitors that have been sailing for many, many years. Well, these boats are extremely easy to operate. Anyone can operate it, can have a go. Like you said, vision impaired, amputees, quadriplegics, the list is endless. But it's the design of the boat that makes it even for everyone on the water, because you've got the extra assistance on the boats that makes that level field. Like if you've got a quadriplegic with a trachea using servo assist with a breathing apparatus like flashing to notify the carers that the oxygen is still working, and the two-way system, and then you've got servo assist remote control, so if for some reason something did happen to the skipper, the support boat can take over the safe operation of the boat. Chris is just amazing on the ideas what he's come up with, and I've taken on board everyone and shared it with other disabled people that say, "Oh, can I do it?" I'm like, "Absolutely. This is how it's done." No. I don't want any. I want a puff of just a little drift of wind, because I've got less limbs, as I know you can see, which means less weight. So the heavier guys, they're just going to go around in circles, hopefully, and being so light in the middle of the boat with no wind and proper sail trimming, hopefully that's the plan anyway. I'll have to let you know at the end of the day if my plan come true.
Was that a cool video?
Absolutely.
Or what?
Yes, absolutely.
Down under sail in the club, and I see Annie Taylor. I don't know you, Annie. I don't believe. She's saying, "Great report, Annie, from the Royal Prince Alfred." Welcome to you, Annie. You're up early. Well, it's almost 8 o'clock there now. Andrew Dolly DeVola, there is both able and disabled competition in the regatta, Julia. So that's good. Clayton Embley is, well, he's back talking about his bourbon. It makes a great breakfast drink. I guess you put a little bit of it in your coffee, as we do here sometimes. I don't know, Ed, why World Sailing's changing the terminology, but looks like single-handed sailor to me. Steve Grover, yes, true. And he'd probably think that was a terrific joke. Fantastic stuff. Blake Middleton says, "I could see myself sailing one of those. Got to keep dreaming of racing again." Yes. And
you ought to do that. What time tomorrow are you going?
Yeah, well, he's got to figure out how to do that. Nice video. Sailing is freedom. How cool. Yeah, lots of great comments. If you don't, Pedro Foiling Sailor, if you don't tear up watching these sailors sailing, we would need to have a chat. Yeah, true. Yeah. Andrew DeVola, a.k.a. Dolly, do you need any more to tell us sailing should be reinstated to the parallel? Exactly, Dolly. Well said. Replying to Pedro Foiling Sailor, Steve Gruber is saying, "I didn't tear up. I was too busy jumping for joy."
Nice.
That is nice stuff, to be sure. We got a little more on all of this. That is the aforementioned. Clark was giving us a link to her. That's our U.S. stalwart in the
Alfred.
Hansa one-person class. There are 75 entries in that class, and the women's division is led by Betsy Allison, a longtime friend here, works for U.S. Sailing. And she overcame, as Clark was saying in the chat, she overcame a UFD in the first race and has since scored 1-1-1-2-2. So she's on 16 total points. And with the throwout, she's leading with a net of 7 points, as you can see there. And there are something like, I don't know, 40 women. I can't remember the number now, having looked at all those different scorecards this morning. It's just, as I said, it makes your eyes spin. There's so many divisions. As Dolly said, both abled and disabled sailors. But what a massively cool scene.
Oh, it is.
Julia, and Bravo Zulu. There's
There
the
it is.
full scores.
Yeah.
And Bravo Zulu to Betsy and all the rest in the women's division all over the world.
I love it.
Get it in the Brisbane Olympics, Paralympics. We got to get Paul Callahan on here too. Keep it rolling, Betsy. Go, Betsy. Lots of cheers for her in the chat.
Yep.
Nice picture. I love this picture. I think I ran it on my Facebook page as the cover the other day. That is the two-person, the doubles, the Hansa doubles, 44 entries, the top 10 names, including, you see Gautier Brill, who's leading a single-handed. Apparently he's able to also sail in the double. The people are able to sail in both divisions. So Gautier Brill is in third in that division. Peter Chachaki is in fourth. So they're top sailors, obviously, all around, whether single-handed or double-handed. And there are the scores for the top 10 in the doubles. The doubles. I like that. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
And one more video. This also just makes your heart sing. And I won't say any more than that. Enjoy.
I did. I'm absolutely buzzing about that. I don't care what happens for the rest of the regatta, I'm happy. Because I can't see the start line, I basically wait for everybody else to start, and then in this particular case it was smart to go out on port for a little bit and then come across on starboard, and it just sort of all went right. Even though I was very late for the start, at least I was in clear air and off I went. And when I got to the first top mark, like for starters, there was nobody around me, and it was like, oh, what have I done wrong? And I was looking over my shoulder and the boats were there. So I just carried on, and I ended up, I think it was about fourth around the top mark the first time. And then we reached across and I was still in fourth. And then we got to the bottom mark and I was still in fourth, and it was amazing. And then on the second beat, I actually lost track of where everybody was. So all I did was sail my boat as fast and as high as I could. When I got to there, I was still in fourth, so it was just amazing. We call them audio boys or sound boys. We got the idea from an Italian design. I went to a blind match racing regatta in Italy in 2006, and they had audio buoys, but they just beeped continuously. When we came back to New Zealand, I started trying to get someone to develop it so that I could use that thing for club racing and for any other racing. My husband, he picked it up and ran with it, and he has now developed so that we can have different noises for different marks, and we've actually got, I think it's 8 audio buoys here for this regatta. I'm absolutely thrilled. Here in Australia, it has been fully embraced here by Royal Prince Alfred, and they've done their absolute best to accommodate, and I think everyone's seeing what the benefits are of having it, not only for vision impaired sailors but for people with different disabilities as well.
Oh my gosh, I have never sailed against 75 boats in my life, and so it really is fun to get, like on shore, you're like, hi, 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 but then on the start, you're like, you've got to make your lane because there's only so much room, and it's pretty neat. And what's really fun too is normally you're sailing a number, but on the start line here, you're like, you're calling countries up. And it's kind of a neat feeling when there's like 17 countries out there, and that's who you call up. You don't actually even call up a number. I'm the one and only Canadian here. Lots of people are here with a bunch of people from their country, but the Australians have just enveloped me as a sister, as you say. And it is really, really heartwarming. It's blown my mind at the generosity and the kindness and the rigor that people have done for me to get me ready and be rigged, for example. It's out of this world. I love that once you're in that boat, everybody's pretty much on an equal playing field. I mean, it's a bit tricky because I'm no hands, and even people using wheelchair have their hands. And there's a jib, and so there's jib sheets, whereas the Liberty is a self-tacking, and there's a main sheet. And in the Liberty, you can get an automatic main tool that's called a servo, but in the 303, there isn't really an everyday practice of having a servo, an automatic main sheeter. So everything's manual in the 303 single. But essentially, despite the fact that I'm the one sailor without hands, they are level playing field. And when you think I'm pretty new to the 303 fleet, right? I've had 6 days in this boat, and I got 12th out of 75 on the first race, and 20 out of 75 on the second race. So even though I'm manually doing things, I'm still competitive in this 303 single, which I love, right? It's about, can you read the wind? Can you read your sails? Do you adjust? It's not about the disability, it's about your sailing ability.
Heartwarming is the word.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. And you got to go back and read the comments, because the comments are just fabulous. No surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I like Rick Bannerow's, you can hear and feel the excitement of sailors, positively infectious. Steve Gruber saying, I now love the Royal Prince Alfred more than I already did. And on and on and on. David Bray. Hello, David. Nice to have you on. The Alfreds are running a fantastic event. Happy sailors, and the volunteers are impressed by the attitude of the competitors.
Mm-hmm.
I can report today, Saturday, is wet, very wet. Well,
I kept thinking that the sailors that are well, I try not to say handicapped, but
well, you can say handicapped. It's okay. They say it themselves,
Yeah.
able-bodied or disabled.
anyway, they have
Disabled.
they have a lot to teach every fleet
Exactly.
about being kind and helpful and good.
Exactly. And it's like Ed Worley's comment. It is not about your disability, but about your sailing ability.
Right.
And that's Gordon Smith's comment as well. And that's what Rick Banner. I want everybody on here right now to make the commitment, whether you're watching live or in replay. And if you don't want to make the commitment, then to hell with you, or send me a note, public or private, and tell me why you don't want to make the commitment. Make the commitment now to go to your national authority, and especially those of you in Australia, to go to the Brisbane Olympic Committee, organizing committee, and to your sailing, Alistair and their new president, they're fully behind us. Let's put the big push on. We need even more countries than just the 16, 17 that are there. But this is fabulous stuff, and it's great for our sport.
It is, and for all of our sport.
Yeah, and not just for the able-bodied or the disabled-bodied. It's good for everybody.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Make it happen. And as Magnus sees in other comments, equity, inclusion are noble values. Well, it's not even, it's good. Forget about it being, saying it is noble, of course. And we need more than one Canadian. She was fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's not virtue signaling. It's just plain good for everybody concerned. It's good for the yacht club putting on events, a cool event like this.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do it. And as Magnus the Magnificent said in his blog post yesterday, I believe it was, The headline was Be More Alfred.
Yep.
Truly inspirational stories are coming up from down under. And his second to last paragraph, penultimate paragraph, as he would say, I applaud wholeheartedly the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club and everyone involved in putting on this championship. If there was an award for Top Club of the Year, they win hands down. And with over 80 volunteers helping shoreside and out on the water, our thanks as a sailing community cannot be expressed loudly enough. I know I said it in my last post, but I'll say it again. Julia, you can say it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
There it is. There's the last two words on your monitor.
They're not the last two words on my monitor.
What? Don't you have the show on your monitor? Oh, I don't. Sorry, I read that without putting it up. I beg your pardon. I apologize.
Sorry.
There's what I was reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there is the word. What Julia said, Clark Chapin said, it's not on anybody's monitor because I haven't switched it on yet. Okay. Well, bravo Zulu to them. Bravo Zulu to all concerned. And I hope you will make that personal commitment. Get your organizations, club classes, YRAs, national authorities to get behind this, and let's make this 2032 push come true.
If nobody else is awarding Club of the Year, we could. Yeah,
I thought about it. I've thought about it before. We've got the person of the year now, the sailor, the yacht's man or woman of the year, as we did with Cole Brower.
Yeah.
It is so political and so difficult to do it is to do a person of the year, but to do a club of the year.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we can.
I don't know. That's it. It's right.
Maybe we can.
Yeah.
I think Magnus is right. If you had to award it right now for 2025 or for the last 12 months, you'd award it to this club. But lots of clubs do great. There was also something in one of these videos I liked where they said that the gentleman who had only one arm, he said, I came to a tri-sailing day. I had to think twice about what he meant. A tri-sailing day, meaning go try out sailing.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a world tri-sailing day? Does anybody do that? Maybe somebody's doing that.
Yeah,
Just a day that we designate. And of course, you got the Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, different times of the year, but you could have a tri-sailing date sometime, and the whole world could get behind it, all the clubs, all the classes, all the national authorities, and have a tri-sailing date.
Yes.
Okay, Julia. What do you think? How about this day in history?
Okay.
Huh? Great stuff. What happened on this day in history on the 28th of March, 1989? And here is your first clue.
Aha.
What is that?
That's the Louvre and the newly opened.
The I.M. designed pyramids. Correct. The Louvre Pyramid in 1989 was designed by I.M. and it was inaugurated by French President Francois Mitterrand in Paris. And when the pyramid opened in 1989, it was not universally well liked. Now considered a symbol of Paris. At the time, it was labeled an annex to, remember, there's Euro Disney there outside of Paris.
Yeah.
An annex to Disneyland by some, and was Chinese American architect I.M.'s most controversial project in his long career. Pei was commissioned by French President Francois Mitterrand to reorganize aspects of the Louvre, and it took 4 years to construct. There are also 3 similar glass pyramids surrounding it. Smaller, thank you. Glass pyramids surrounding it. The central large pyramid stands 70 feet tall in the central courtyard of the Louvre and provides a grand underground entrance to the 12th century palace turned museum in the center of Paris. And that's what happened on this day in history, the 28th of March, 1989. But, Julia,
yes,
there was a sailing event on this date as well. A sailing event of some considerable repute.
Yes.
Did you know that today was a big day in New Zealand history, New Zealand sailing history. Do you know who these gentlemen are? See if anybody in the chat knows.
Ah, actually, they look familiar, but I can't.
Anybody know who they are? And why is today a major day in New Zealand sailing history? America's Cup history as well. Come on, Ed Worley, you must know this. Yeah, Hamish Ross has got it. That is Sir Michael, now Sir Michael Fay. He wasn't in 88. That was a 1988 photo on the big boat, Sir Michael Fay and Bruce Farr.
Oh, yes. That's who that is.
The designer of that yacht, who, when we got together in a 2003 America's Cup team together after he and I had been at opposite ends of the spear for years, he said, "You've hired that a-hole, Eamon?"
Yeah.
By the end of that camp, I've said this before when we've had Britt Ward on here, his former colleague. Yeah, we were best friends and still are. We talk regularly, and you never know. So that is Sir Michael Fay and Bruce Farr. So what happened on this day? It was the big boat, but why is this historically significant? What actually happened, Phil Yeomans? There is, in fact, the big boat. Julie Aarons knew it was Michael Fay and Bruce Farr. See if anybody gets it. What happened? Come on, Hamish.
I love the shadow.
Rick Banner says, that previous photo, he says, I am Pay is in the background taking the photo. Not true. That wasn't a comment vis-a-vis Asians, was it? I think that's a clever comment. That is certainly not racist. There's the big boat. Hamish Ross has got it. I don't know if you saw his comment. There is the catamaran, and we still don't know what happened, do we? The court judgment, Claire Harrington is saying. Which court judgment?
Yeah.
Hamish Ross, which court decision? Here's what one gentleman said before the racing started.
This is largely going to be a design competition. And as I've said all along, I think one or the other of the boats probably will be quite a bit ahead of the other, but you never know.
Who's that crouton?
I wonder who it is.
That crouton.
He looks like a 17-year-old.
Well.
Has a pink shirt on, though.
I did. Was it a pink shirt? I don't remember. Had a yellow tie anyway. I don't think it was a pink shirt, Julie. I didn't wear pink shirts in those days.
Yes, it was. That's what I noticed.
27th America's Cup, the Coma, off Point Loma, as Bob Fisher and others started to call it. The race between the catamaran and the big boat. The boats were, according to Michael Fay, they were not like and similar. And he said that the deed of gift required that they be like and similar. And he went back to court after Dennis Conner and Stars and Stripes won 2-0 in that series. And he went to the New York Supreme Court, which, by the way, is the trial court. It's been around for so long that it's called the Supreme Court. Back in the day, it was the Supreme Court, pre-Revolutionary War days in this country. That's at 60 Center Street. Hamish knows that court well, as do I. And in front of this lady, in 1989, Justice Carmen Beauchamp-Saperic, who was the first Latina on the New York court system, at least in the Supreme Court system in New York City. In summary, Saperic ruled on this day that, quote, whether the court limits its inquiry to the trust instrument, deed of gift, or accepts extrinsic evidence, Schuyler's memorandum, it is clear that a catamaran may not defend in the America's Cup competition against the monohull, she ruled. Accordingly, the quote continues, accordingly, San Diego shall be disqualified in the September 88 competition, unquote.
Yes.
Saperic also drew attention to what she saw as a violation of the, quote, spirit of the deed of gift.
No question.
Which, as soon as we saw that, we knew we were going to win on appeal, frankly. And she duly awarded the America's Cup on this day in history to the Kiwis. And there's what I was just reading. I'm sailing a cat. Someone else is sailing a dog, as Dennis Conner said famously at the post-race press conference. Stingray wants to know who designed that 88 wing. Well, that was a group of people who did that, and it was famous in all the newspapers. This is the Associated Press. It was picked up all over the country that the New York State Court rocks the boat. Judge rules against San Diego Yacht Club in the America's Cup dispute. I don't know if you can see this. Because spirit was more important than speed, New Zealand is the new home of yachting's America's Cup. In the first disqualification of the Cup's 138-year history, a New York judge ruled Tuesday that the San Diego Yacht Club flouted rules in the two-race sweep last September by sailing a catamaran while the New Zealanders used a traditional mono-hulled craft.
Yep.
Quote, San Diego violated the spirit of the deed of gift, unquote, State Supreme Court Justice Carmen Separate ruled. And you'll see down at the bottom there, some other crouton said, who was the executive vice president of the organizing committee, said San Diego defense officials, quote, will do what's best for the Cup. That has always been what San Diego Yacht Club stood for. That's what the ACOC, meaning the America's Cup Organizing Committee, and the Yacht Club will do when I was asked whether we were going to appeal. We will do what's best for the Cup.
Right.
Which, of course, was to appeal.
Yes.
And we did. It was front page news. In the upper left corner, you can't really see it in this slide, in the New York Times.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Headline of which was Yacht Racing. Court rules America's Cup is New Zealand's by forfeit. The LA Times was even less generous, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
Judge, where was that headline? Judge snatches San Diego's America's Cup for cheating. It finally goes to New Zealand. The LA Times.
Mm-hmm. And then?
Well, New Zealand won the Cup on this day in history.
Yeah.
For the first time, that was their first win in the America's Cup. They didn't win in Frio in 87. They almost won the Challenger Selection Series. Dennis won that. But in 88, they didn't win it on the water, but they won it in court on this day in history, 1989, New Zealand's first America's Cup win. And when I'm going through this website I've got, that was one of the 2 or 3 that I look at for what happened on this day in history. This actually, what you see there in the middle of that slide, popped up. Even they recognized that it was an historic day. Mm-hmm. But as you all know, San Diego Yacht Club prevailed. And according to Wikipedia, after the completion of the races, the battle returned to the courts. And on today, the 28th of March, the Cup was awarded to New Zealand on the basis that the competition should be between a monohull and a catamaran, and it was a gross mismatch and not in the spirit of friendly competition between countries.
Yes.
However, the appellate division reversed that ruling, saying the deed of gift does not limit design or say anything about the number of hulls a yacht may have, and the reversal was confirmed on the 26th of April, 1990. More than a year later, it finally was ended, the whole court madness, by the New York Court of Appeals up in Albany, the state capital. Thus, San Diego retained the Cup, defending it again at the 1992 America's Cup. This day in history, Julia.
Yes. Yeah, that's how you got your halo.
And, well, I don't know. Some people thought it was not a halo. Some people it's the devil's horns, exactly.
But you replaced the devil's horn with the
halo. I would have liked to thought. I was a hero in San Diego along with the others that worked on this, but
it wasn't unfair.
2010 was a harder one. 2010, that whole court madness was a more difficult one. We'll talk about that another time. That's what happened this day in history, which after an hour and 23 minutes, thank goodness, gets us to the last leg.
Okay.
We got 2 last leg items, Julia. And the first one here is that coming up, starting Monday, is the start of the European Olympic class regatta season. And the Australian sailing team is already celebrating their performance last year at this event, as well they should. The countdown is on with the iconic Trofeo Sofia, Princess Sophia Trophy, set to kick off on Monday, March 31st. Let's relive the best moments from 2024 to get you pumped for racing. The Australian sailing team put this out a couple days ago. Bree Whitehead made history, winning the overall trophy at the Princess Sophia after taking the win in the Formula Kite class, while Zoe Thompson claimed a silver medal in the ILCA 6. And as always, the regatta delivered some testing conditions. who's excited to see what 2025 brings. And that sent to us, thank you, Alistair Murray, for sending along that.
Oh, yes.
It all's happening. I wonder if John Emmett will be down there. Normally he is there. What else here? We got some comments back on that cup story. Mark Holland is saying, on that day, the cup was released from the deepest, darkest vault in New York, where it was being held by, it wasn't the
that's
deepest, darkest vault, exactly, Mark. It was down the street. It was the court ordered that the New York Yacht Club hold it. This I've discussed with Vice Commodore Harrington. Claire knows this.
Mm.
They said New York will hold, as the original trustee, will hold it in trust. And they send it down to the bank vault, I think at the corner of 5th and 44th. There used to be a bank there. It's not there anymore.
Mm.
It was held there pending the next two court issues. I trust Team USA is attending the circuit. This is now back on the regatta in Palma next week.
Mm.
I don't know who's going, Gordon. This thing is still a bit messed up here in the U.S., although I think there's some clarity. There's some progress coming. One can only hope it gets sorted. Hi, Ted Ryman in Cape Town. Welcome to you. So that is one of two last legs I thought we should discuss today. And here,
Yes.
Julia, is the other.
Yes.
And to give them a plug, I want to give you their URL for the www.ussailgpteam.com. I think I got that right in the graphics.
Mhm.
Whoever one of you said, I think Ed Worley said it, whoever's doing their social media must be a high school girl. Maybe it could be a boy, but
Yeah.
could be a middle school, a junior high school kid, because it is unbelievably cringeworthy, some of the stuff they're doing. I don't know who they think they're appealing to, but get this. They have a thing now called Whirlwind. Okay, I get it, Whirlwind. And this is episode 2 with Mike and Taylor blind testing pastries here in San Francisco last weekend. Mike Buckley and Taylor Canfield put their taste buds to the test in the latest episode of Whirlwind in San Francisco. They know their way around an F-50 catamaran, do they? But do Mike Buckley and Taylor Canfield know their way around pastries as well? In the latest episode of Whirlwind, we put our CEO cum strategist and driver to the test to see if they could differentiate between artisan local pastries in San Francisco and off-the-shelf alternatives. And I give you the most cringeworthy video that I've seen, at least sailing related, in a long, long time.
What is that thing?
Oh, this little beauty.
Did you take one off of my plate to start?
I have no idea. I couldn't see. All right, dump the water on them. This is Whirlwind Episode 2, San Francisco edition.
Yeah, I can't see what I'm wearing at the moment, but have these, I think, nice Tommy Hilfiger powered glasses, but we've somehow fully blacked them out, so we have zero vision.
The team have got us a bunch of delicious pastries from Arsico. Hopefully they're gonna dump a bucket of water on Taylor while he's blindfolded, and we are gonna compare them to some fast food pastries that were obtained this morning as well.
They down already?
I'm putting them down. Oh. How do we define who wins?
This
It's
all,
just you gotta
I only
guess.
feel
the whole
one plate.
time?
Oh, he's got plate over there too.
Exactly.
Okay. Get out of it. So one plate has all the good ones, one plate has the bad ones.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Take one off each plate.
Here, can we trade plates? Get out of it, don't touch them all. That is something. I'm not sure.
This is
This is wherever the generic pastry came from. That's not very good.
This one's absolutely delicious.
I only have one pastry. Can you share some of this? Am I gonna bite the same one that you bit? Oh, that thing is flaky.
Yeah, buttery. This one is buttery.
Fresh out of the oven, that one.
It was nice. I feel like we're over in Europe. I'm gonna keep eating this.
All right, you were correct.
Both of us?
Both of you correct.
Yeah.
So we're tied?
Are my two pastries that I'm gonna eat gonna be on my plate? Did you take one off of my plate to start?
I have no idea. I couldn't see.
You've got a plate each, one of each, standard.
Should we go texture? Oh my God. What I think
This
is
thing's
the-
like a softball.
Yeah, this thing's tough. That's a maybe one of the worst pain au chocolat I've ever had.
The dense one.
Yeah, it's flat.
This needs to be heated.
Dude, this thing is massive, whatever this is.
This one needs to be heated.
Yeah, really flaky. Oh, that was good density there when it hit the table. Mm.
Yeah, but this one is just flaky. I can just feel it right in
Oh.
my mouth.
The chocolate. Oh my God. First one, generic. Second one,
And the chocolate
this little beauty.
is like
This is a
moist.
beauty. Yeah, and dark, rich.
I'm done with this one. You can have the rest
Yeah.
of that one.
I'm just Blake says, "Let's move on, please, Tom." And it goes on. I mean, there's still another. I don't know how much time left in this. It goes on and on and on. And I feel so sorry for them. I want them to succeed, Julia. I want them to do well.
Yes.
But is this just now they do yet another round of this? This is like a 5 or 6 minute video here on Croissant Illustrated. Rick Vanero.
This one's rough, yeah. This one, I can
Somebody
tell
else
already.
said, I guess you could say this video is half baked. And Worley.
On the inside yet, but just
Oh man, it's so bad it's funny. Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin is saying, yeah, it's sponsorship. To be sure, it's sponsorship
Put that one down
fulfillment.
for a little bit. This
Steve
one-
Gruber.
This one must be the good one.
Yeah, you're right, and it's sad.
Me,
Everyone is turning off, Tom. It's a slow sailing week.
Yeah.
just one's local here.
Yeah.
So good. All right.
If I cringe too much, I cramp
so
up. Clark
can we
Chapin is
unblindfold?
saying. Okay,
Let's see
you
what these little beauties look like.
you got the idea.
Rick wants his 5 minutes back.
You got the idea.
Yeah.
There it is. It's over.
Good sign of a
Yeah.
have a good croissant when you get some
Little.
good flake on you.
Okay, look at the butter on this thing.
Oh my God, we made quite a mess.
Thank you, Arsico in San Francisco. This is Whirlwind, episode 2 out.
Close enough.
Oh, Julia. We
I-
really do want them to do well, don't we?
Yeah, but I actually am having a very hard time finding any relationship.
Well, that's true. Okay, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Good follow up to that video. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And speaking of follow ups, this is one from the show the other day. I played at the end of Tuesday's show. I went Chopin, but I forgot my list and had to go Bach. Remember we had that one? Well,
Yeah.
there was follow up to this from the Fozy.
Uh-huh.
That was from Ryman. It was clean. We only put that up there, as bad as those puns were. I put it up because, Ryman did a clean one for a change.
Yes.
And even that is, entertaining and shocking at a minimum. But yet, there's more. Wait, Alistair says you're Baroque. No. Yeah, he says you're Baroque when you have no Monet.
He's true.
And there's a whole long line of jokes about that.
Yeah.
Guys that robbed the Louvre. Without a moment's hesitation, he kicked the thief kicked the van into high gear and sped away. However, his van ran out of gas less than 5 minutes later, and he was caught and arrested by the police. I don't understand, said the officer. How could you plan all so carefully yet forget to fill up your gas tank? To which the thief replied, but, monsieur, that is exactly why I stole the paintings. I had no money to buy the gas to make the van go.
That's old.
That's
yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
And I don't like puns, but okay, I guarantee you that is the last pun we're going to do in the foreseeable future. But this one came through, thanks to Gordon Smith. A pun has not completely matured until it is full grown.
Thank you, Gordon. Yes.
Thank you, Gordon. Gordon sent another one in. This is also clean. I'm reading the instructions correctly. After 3 glasses of wine, the bookshelf assembles itself.
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
I think that's okay. Gordon sent that. And then just to show you how erudite he is, this is really a good one. Your son was caught in the principal's office. Your son was caught applying logic to another child's core beliefs.
Oh.
Get it?
Mm.
That's very good. Pretty clever, Julia, don't you think?
Yes.
Okay, we'll wrap it up with this sailing one. Sailing flags explained. The top one says, where's the location? It's the Club Burgee normally.
Right.
Where's the bar? The next one says, race postponed, start drinking. Next one says, race abandoned, head to the bar. The next one says, no wind, but there's beer. I don't think Clark Chapin would approve of that. Over early, have a drink. Code flag X at the bottom. That from Ed Worley. And since this is a drinking show with a sailing habit, I thought that was a proper
Yes.
slide on which to end this show with a finish line, Julia. You like to say.
Yes. What a delightful opportunity to like, follow, and share. Push the button if you don't know where it is.
Yeah,
just
please
ask.
do. And comments are welcome, even in replay, as we always say. And we appreciate very much all of you who do contribute to us to keep our studio intact and our exorbitant streaming fees paid. They keep coming in. I paid the power bill. You had an exorbitant power bill upstairs in your apartment.
really.
I had an exorbitant one too, as they keep raising. Of course,
It's gas and power. I mean,
well,
it's
gas and power, but I don't.
gas and
I
light.
barely use any gas down here. Well, I do for the furnace, but
Yeah.
But if we don't do a show, if I go away for a week, the power bill goes down because of the lighting in here and all the other stuff. But nonetheless, we appreciate all of you who support us via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Thanks for your support. We appreciate it very much indeed. Clark Chapin is saying, of course, I've already both liked and shared. Chris Exley, another great show. See everyone Tuesday. And remember, we have James Pleasance next Friday, and we got Hamish Ross, I think, the Friday after that. But Julia, you know what next Tuesday is? April
Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day. We may have a few April Fool's jokes on here next Tuesday. And if any of you has one that you want to send in, please do, because we may do a few April Fool's jokes. Thanks to everybody who gave us audio, video, and images for today's show. Appreciate it very much indeed. It's a long list of credits for these shows. Julia, we'll see you Tuesday on April Fool's Day.
Yes, it's this very special day.
Do we do any tricks? Or that's for Halloween, trick or treat. We don't do any April Fool's jokes, do we?
No. But we have to remember that it's the anniversary.
In 2016 of the founding of the beach. Now, don't give it away. I was going to do that this day in history.
Oh, okay.
Next Tuesday. This
All
day
right.
in history, the founding day. We founded the Beach Street, the BS Yacht Club.
The BS Yacht Club.
The BS Yacht Club was founded on the 1st of April, 2016. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday. Have a great rest of your weekend, wherever you are in the world. And go sailing. And if you do, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.